I keep quoting this to a lot of employees many times when they're like, okay, Bharat, should we have a backup plan? And I'm like, screw the backup plan. This is our plan. We got to get this
Hello and welcome back to the AEiF Podcast. I am your host Ranga Jagannath, and today we are diving deep into a question that so many people have wrestled with. Is entrepreneurship really for you? Why this topic? Because the word entrepreneur is everywhere. Some see it as the ultimate dream, others see it as a risky gamble, and many are just unsure what it means. To help me explore this, I am joined today by Bharath Patil, co founder and CTO of Cradlewise. Bharath has walked the entrepreneurial path himself. Bharath is an alumnus of Sainik School Bijapur and NIT Surat. He told me backstage that Surat is probably where some of the Gujarati blood of doing business got into him somehow. And so we'll explore that. Bharath, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting me.
I'll start with a very foundational question. When you hear the word entrepreneur, what does it actually mean to you? And do you think entrepreneurship is overrated or is it more often misunderstood?
Yeah, very interesting question. I think the way I usually like to answer questions is to contrast it against something else. So I think first of all, we should contrast entrepreneurship against, let's say, just being a businessman.
Mhm.
Many of the people conflate the two. Entrepreneurship is about, most importantly, when compared to being just a businessman, it's not about the money. Money is a side effect.
Mhm.
And entrepreneurship is about creating genuine value, but also in a novel way. Like if there isn't enough novelty, there isn't enough uh, innovation in what goes into creating that value, then I would still classify that as just typical business. So perhaps that clears some of the misconception about being an entrepreneur. And overrated, I don't know. I mean, like compared to what, right? So, I mean, entrepreneurship is what it is, right? Uh, okay, the the cool coverage that some entrepreneurs get might be overrated, but
We will talk
entrepreneurship,
about that. We will talk about that later.
but entrepreneurship by itself, I don't think is overrated. In fact, I believe the journey of an entrepreneur is something that uh, everyone should at least um, get a taste for.
Uh-huh.
It changes you in a very fundamental way. It's like I like to say, an accelerated path to truly learning the ways of how world works. It's somewhat spiritual in that sense. That journey
I was going to
tunes
say
you.
that maybe it also provides an internal view of things. But
Correct. Yeah.
if I can just continue from there, um, what qualities or mindset do you think are essential to survive these ups and downs? Because entrepreneurship, like you said, has got its own pluses and minuses and ups and downs. So, what's the kind of mindset? And if you can share some examples from your own journey, maybe one example.
So I think, I mean, people like to speak about uh, courage and not losing faith in yourself and all of that. Uh, I would not want to repeat all of that. I think
Mm-hmm.
that everybody understands. I think one of the most important components of being an entrepreneur, especially a successful one, is to be extremely self aware. And it's not that you are always self-aware. Being self-aware is also a journey, but I think entrepreneurship really accelerates that, and you should have that quest. Like, okay, like every day you think about, okay, what am I good at? What am I bad at? What do I need to substitute that's not good in me? What is it that I can do? What is it that I cannot practically do? Like there is very little difference between basically being courageous versus being stupid. So uh, I
Like
think
that.
that yeah, there is the self-awareness part. You know, make sure that you're not just being stupid.
So,
So
what got you motivated, given all these things that you just mentioned, a very thin line between being stupid and courageous and all that. So, what kind of motivated you to step into entrepreneurship?
yeah. So again, I think it goes back to value addition. I myself hadn't discovered a true reason for being an entrepreneur for quite a long time. I thought that I knew what it meant when I was in Gujarat and I saw all kind of people in, Gujarat is obviously a very interesting state, very unique compared to any other state in India. And you would find somebody who, in front of our eyes in those 4 years of college, who started a mirchi ice cream shop
Hmm.
right in front of our college, and went on to start, started with one small thing, opened chains, and became pretty big right in front of our eyes. That was a very interesting one for me. It's like, okay, mirchi ice cream, right? So who thought of that? So and there were people, and he somehow found the right customer profiles, and he managed to scale. So that was an amazing story for me. It's not like you have to really invent some rockets or anything. Like there has to be still some amount of innovation, but that guy in some ways embodied entrepreneurship for me. A very simple start, but very interesting one. But I came to IISc and for my postgrad, and Radhika, my co-founder and my wife. So we took a lot of courses together. One of the courses was a management class.
Hmm.
IISc has a management department as well, and it was a financial management class. And there's a very interesting professor. He's actually an IMB professor, but he comes and teaches in IISc also. And his name is TVN Rao. And he, I think, clarified it the best for me. He started his class with, okay, what do you even make a company for? And he started, diving into the details of every etymology of like, what does corporation mean? What does company mean? And it was very interesting. But most importantly, he said, if you don't add positive value to the world, you're not an entrepreneur. So you
Did
may
you
have
say
made
if
a
you
lot of
don't add,
money,
sorry, did you say if you don't add
positive
positive
value.
value? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that was that one thing. Like, so if you ever do something, then do it so that it causes positive value in the world. Like as simple as that, right? So I think that was very eye-opening for me, and that has somewhat been what we are looking for through this company. We thought that we should have a consumer hardware company out of India. It needn't have had to be this Cradle, but it had to be some consumer hardware company because there are literally none. I mean, like, actually zero respected consumer hardware companies from India in the West, in the US, like literally none. So we wanted to change that. So that was our motivation, and that we thought was decent enough value to add to the world, particularly to India.
Bharat, you also mentioned some time ago, I don't know if you mentioned to me or I read somewhere, you guys did something with elephant tracking also. So is that,
Right.
was that kind of the genesis for what you guys eventually built at Cradlewise? Was there some Was there some pathway that led to this?
I mean, not directly, but it was the genesis of, let's say, our companionship and finally marriage, I think.
Okay.
So, so we really enjoyed doing that project together. It was meaningful. It was never meant to be a business. We were doing it because we were totally having fun,
Hmm.
postgrads, making something impactful. So we basically tracked semi-wild elephants uh, in the Dubari forest and around. And that was of very important significance for some researchers at IIC and some forest department folks. So we just enjoyed doing that together. And I guess we found our ways of working with each other. And
Got you.
yeah.
So, prior to all this, you also worked at a very traditional, maybe corporate kind of setup as well for, I don't know how long, but you have spent some time in a corporate environment. So, how do you view entrepreneurship within a corporate environment? I think it's called intrapreneurship, right? So while you're not an entrepreneur, but you're doing something inside a large organization, maybe driving innovation and things like that. So so I've got two questions. Is that a path to kind of honing your skills and trying to become an entrepreneur? Or the other question rather is that something that organizations should encourage employees to consider the path to
Hmm.
entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think I would like to answer the second question first.
Hmm.
Definitely, yes. A
So
lot of the
Bharat,
big
I
companies,
let you
uh,
continue, but I'll be right back. Please continue. Please
yeah,
continue.
a lot of the companies kind of lose touch from the founders and the founder spirit. And I think it's essential for even large corporations to allow some parts of their companies to work very independently. And that kind of keeps kindling that spirit at the lower levels, which ultimately results into the best of the leaders growing up into the corporate ladder, and obviously the most direct effect, which is innovation. So it definitely helps. But for people to hope to be an entrepreneur, I think
Hmm.
that's a that's a hard ask. Like not many companies actually support that, and it's in fact not just the company thing. It comes down to your manager
Hmm.
ultimately. And it's interesting you ask this question. It's as though you kind of somehow know my story, but uh, my manager at TI, I was very lucky to have someone. She's a very respected leader in TI, and she pretty much gave me a free hand for like 4 or 5 years for doing whatever the heck I wanted to do. And I think that helped. That helped a lot because I started out as obviously a pure tech guy in Texas Instruments, but the team I luckily joined was was very encouraging of people trying hands at different things. So I invented some 3D imaging techniques, and that turned out to be something that you could make decent business out of in Texas Instruments. And then there were some collaborations with other companies for technology, and finally I ended up doing a little bit of sales also because the technology was so new, the sales team was not able to like take it and sell it compared to many of the traditional businesses that Texas Instruments had. So I accompanied the field and sales team in Texas Instruments and went around like pretty much all around the world, US, Europe, all of East Asia and Japan. It just covered the entire globe and wherever there was any meaningful tech work being done. And that was very good exposure for me. Like I had
So
to
you
come
kind
out
of
of
sowed
that
the seeds.
technology shell and
So
yeah.
kind of sowed the seeds for your entrepreneurial journey, which actually brings me to the core question that I wanted to also ask was that Cradlewise was born out of a personal need or something that you and your spouse probably
Mm,
experienced. Can you share a little bit about that story and how it turned from a personal story into a business idea?
right. So as I was saying, I was doing a very important bit in Texas Instruments, and this is 2014. Our first daughter, was being born, and Radhika was also similarly busy with Qualcomm,
Mm-hmm.
her job, and so I mean, we hadn't definitely prepared for those sleepless nights, like going sleepless, getting to the office and functioning at your highest capacity. That was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So we did something of a prototype for the first one. I wouldn't say it was a major success for the first one. By the time we learned how to deal with it, she was already 1 year old. So we didn't uh, reap the fruits, so to speak, for the first child. But by the time the second one was born in 2017, we were like fully ready. So so Radhika had gotten one evaluation kit with the processor that we later used for a while in our product. And then I had my 3D camera from TI and then some motor drivers and such from TI. And just put all of those things together. And it was not the most artistic looking thing, but it worked. And to this day, we actually feel that was the best thing that we ever made. Like after
So,
that, it's been only compromises because
so,
we
so,
had to,
so
yeah.
let me ask you a side question before jumping back to the main topic. So, do you still have that prototype, or have you
Yeah,
already
it is.
dismantled? You still have it? Does it still work?
Yeah, it is there in our garage at home in Bangalore, somewhere in Whitefield, Kadugodi area.
Okay, got you. Okay. So,
Hmm.
along the way, I'm sure you faced many challenges, but do talk us through some of the challenges of um, building Cradlewise.
So I don't know if it's like it was some kind of a test or it's still ongoing test for us. But as soon as I was in China and we were just setting up our first like with a contract manufacturer, the manufacturing line, and as soon as we were done with it and we got like four crips, then COVID hit. So I was
Wow.
in fact
Wow.
there in China just 3 days before COVID hit.
Wow.
I came out on the 22nd of Jan and then 25th COVID hit. So we had just like first of all we had very little money that we had raised. You spent so much money and now suddenly it's and we were in the middle of doing some fundraising,
Uh-huh.
and it was the worst of all combinations. Suddenly, some investors developed cold feet and ran away because COVID. Uh, and we didn't have any units. We had only 4 units for like the next entire year. And in the middle of that, we had to actually move to the US. So we actually moved in July 2020 in the middle of pandemic with our kids and like barely 4 bags and about 7 to 8 months of runway based on whatever little fundraise we had done and our savings, personal savings from
Mm.
TI stocks and Qualcomm stocks. Uh, it was, I mean, obviously crazy times and uh,
So, did you guys
yeah.
ever think of giving up through all this?
I don't think so. I don't think we ever thought of uh, giving up because we had extreme confidence that the product was going to bring value. And that was the
Mm-hmm.
only thing that mattered. Like, if ever the confidence of the product bringing value was questioned, then I think we would have lost faith. But, or maybe we would have tried to pivot and do something else that worked.
Mm.
But I think since the very beginning, the fact that the product worked, it obviously always has needed improvements, but the core functioning that, okay, if you detect baby wake-ups in advance and soothe them, then babies tend to go back to sleep, tend to sleep longer, and babies are rested, parents are rested. That basic thesis, since that was, we were always getting positive feedback about that thesis, so we never thought of giving up. Like many times we
Okay.
discuss, even if everything goes out of the window, we just have one crib, we can restart from there, do the
Got
entire
you.
thing.
So
Yeah.
for aspiring entrepreneurs or those who may be struggling a little bit in their own journey, how would you suggest they prepare themselves both financially and emotionally? Is there something that from your own journey and learnings you'd like to share? And before you answer that question, this podcast is actually being recorded live, and we have audience that are also listening into this conversation. So if they have any questions, they are free to share the questions, and our moderator and producer will be happy to uh, bring those up as well. So yeah, sorry, please go ahead, Bharat.
Yeah, so how would you prepare? Like, I don't really have an answer for that. I think the best thing could be like have a terrible, I mean, not in the bad sense, but have a terrible childhood. Like that's one easy way to prepare.
What do you mean by that?
Like get beaten up by seniors in Sainik school, for example.
Not very good
So,
advertisement, but okay, keep going.
yeah. You know, so I think the pain bearing capacity has to be very high, and it is very hard to build good pain bearing capacity once you already become an adult. So, in some
Mhm.
ways, I would be almost re-quoting the NVIDIA founder words here. He said, he actually said this in some gathering, and it struck me so much because it's kind
Mhm.
of what happened. Like, uh, I bless you meaningful pain and suffering. That's kind of what he said to the audience
Okay.
there. Yeah. So I think that's very essential, and very rarely have I seen people who have not seen too much pain become successful. But of course, meaningful pain. It should not be the kind of pain that makes somebody, hate the world and become evil. It should
Hmm.
be pain that, of creating something, but having that struggle.
So
You should
from my
probably
own
go through that.
experience,
Yeah.
so sorry to interrupt, but from my own experience of long distance running, I can say that sometimes that pain is what keeps you motivated and going for the next long run that you want to do. So yeah, I kind of get it from that perspective, but I didn't realize that it applies even for entrepreneurship in some ways.
Yeah.
So you've told us about some of your struggles, some of the highs, lows that you've gone through. How do you kind of balance the demands of running a business, a family, a young family, relatively young family, and then maybe the demands of the community, your personal interests? So how do you kind of balance all this?
So that also has been honestly a journey. So there were times when I felt that I'm probably not doing enough justice to kids and spending enough
Mm-hmm.
time with them and such. But what I realized is that if you think like, oh man, I can't solve this problem of having reasonable balance, then you will end up not solving it. But if you say that,
So, so,
okay,
so
there is
let me
there is a
let me
way.
sorry
Yeah.
interrupt you there and ask you: is there something like balance at all, or is that just a word that we use for convenience? You can continue with your response, anyways. So,
So some entrepreneurs like to be, I would say, very valiant or colorful about this and say that no, there is no such thing as balance. I don't believe in
uh-huh.
that. There is
Mm-hmm.
always a balance. What is that balance? You can ask. Of course, it is that balance is not like you're going on a vacation every 2 3 months with your kids. Yes, that's not going to happen. But there's all kinds of balances. You can say that okay. So to this day, even if I'm in India, I spend a minimum of 1 hour with the kids,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes 2 hours. And of course, when I'm there, I compulsory spend 2 hours with kids. And in some ways, it actually helps because I just completely zone out from the thought processes that are all going on all the time about the company. Become a kid again with them. Do whatever, like play pickleball, play some chess, or some music, or some goofing around generally with
Hmm.
them. Just follow them through some
Hmm.
trek, and uh, I feel like I can come back very refreshed from that and keep going. And obviously, all this balance is like, you can't have this balance every day. There are days when we have to tell them that, guys, today we are like zoning out. And the interesting thing is that when they see our struggle, I believe somewhere they're also learning that uh, to create meaning, you need to go through that struggle, and somewhere they're getting those right signals. So it's not always like if you don't spend time with them, it's bad. But if you can explain it to them and they can learn from it, then it actually adds.
So, uh, talking of family, especially, you mentioned your spouse is also the co-founder of Cradlewise. So, how has working together been through this journey, both in terms of challenges and in terms of strengths?
I mean, there are obviously two sides to this. So uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's like your wife, as they say. I don't think there is an equivalent word in any other language. They say hamdard, right, in Hindi. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
so uh, hamdard is. I don't think you can get a better hamdard.
Got you.
So, but at times you want to just get out of that loop of some worries or some fears that you have, and that is very hard because
Hmm.
at dinner table are conversations about the next problem, and sometimes it gets on your kids' nerves. They're like they literally
Also,
do this
when
and
you're
they're like,
when you're
time
talking
out, time
about
out.
work at home.
Yeah, and they literally do this and they're like, okay, can you guys please cut it? Like, we don't want to hear about your company anymore today.
Got
So
you.
there are those challenges. There are obviously also arguments about what the right thing to do in the companies, and sometimes there are no easy answers. Like when it's black and white, it's always easy, but when it's gray, it's really hard.
Hmm.
So, and you have to agree to disagree sometimes, and take wrong decisions. Yeah, and but
Got you.
the important thing is keep putting the past behind and keep thinking about take the learnings, keep moving forward. So you
So,
can make it work.
so what are some of the personal practices that have helped you along the way, and that may actually help people that are considering this path of entrepreneurship or who are already on that path? So, what are some of the personal habits that have helped you?
So I am uh, somewhat of a spiritual person. I think that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Having read uh, at least the three major religions, Bible, Quran, and Gita,
Mm-hmm.
and still in that exploration of the Hindu spiritualism, it's quite deep. So, in some ways, I think that helps. For example, in the in these years through entrepreneurship, I've been able to reduce my sleep from 8 hours to. I'm giving you a very practical output, right? This is not what you should go after when you do this thing, but like,
No,
I don't know if
there
it's
is a
even
reason.
healthy.
There is a reason why I'm smiling, and I'll respond to that after you tell me about your sleep.
Yeah, so I've been able to reduce my sleep on an average from 8 hours to just 6 hours and still function the same and still be healthy. At least, from whatever I know, I can still run good number of miles and the brain
Uh-huh.
still works at that same sharpness level. So I've been able to do that through some yoga and meditative practices, and I think, uh, yeah, that gives me those 2 hours I spend with the kids. So that's great. So stuff
Got
like
you.
that, right? So yeah.
So the reason I was smiling when you started talking about sleep was just this morning I shared my sleep stats on a couple of WhatsApp groups, and I was slightly embarrassed by it because I slept for about, I think, 9 hours and 48 minutes or so last night.
Wow. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so we have contrasting views on sleep. So my sleep seems to be going up with with passing days and years. But anyways, so
Yeah.
you kind of like, obviously we've discussed, seen some highs, seen some lows. But what or who is that person that kind of keeps you steady through both the highs and the lows? I have a follow-up question. Maybe you can respond to both of them together. So this is one part of the question. The other part of the question is that I think Sam Altman gave credit to you guys earlier this year when he quoted Cradlewise in one of his tweets. So, what did that moment mean to you, the organization? And maybe you can combine both the answers, the responses to both the questions, and tell us a little bit about who or what keeps you grounded.
Yeah, I think the two of us help each other to be grounded, Radhika and me. Uh, Not to be over optimistic, nor to be over pessimistic, and just keep correcting each other and
Mhm.
keep getting us towards reality as much as possible. So, for example, between the two of them, I am the over optimistic one. So,
Okay,
so, so she does help me
okay,
uh,
bring you
get
back.
back to reality.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
and yeah.
continuing on the Sam Altman thing, so did that kind of first is that kind of validation important to you guys? Uh,
Hmm.
the follow-up to that is, did that validation raise or force you to raise your standards, or it really doesn't move the needle much? You continuing on the path that you had anyways set out to. So, what's your view on that?
So, I mean, obviously, a tweet like that from somebody like Sam Altman is obviously very important for the business,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a great validation. It's a great external validation, and no matter what's said and done, customers, potential investors, potential collaborators, they all look for some sort of external validation, and there is not much better validation you can get
Mm-hmm.
than that. So it does have great business value. But from just a personal point of view, like if you talked about how Radhika and I felt when that happened, honestly, it's like it came in our seventh year of journey, and by the seventh year, uh, the highs don't take you that high, the lows don't take you that low. So you're like, okay, everything is filtered. So we were obviously excited,
I
but
remember I
yeah,
remember you telling something about Kung Fu Panda or Master
yeah,
Shifu or something.
that's it.
So maybe you could
Yeah,
share that.
right. Yeah, like I think Uguay says to Shifu, like, there is no good news or bad news. There's just news.
There is news. Okay.
Yeah, so that is pretty much how we took it. I don't remember it being some kind of great celebration at home or nothing. It was like
Okay.
another day. Anyway, great work
And
and
I would be jumping from the
yeah.
rooftops, man.
Yeah, but I remember the following week, the number of reporters who were interviewing Radhika. That is
Yeah.
when it really hit us. Okay, this is really big.
Got you. Yes. So
Yeah.
we have one question from the audience from Prashant. He asks, "What drives you?" And let me
I
also add one more twist to that. What drives you? The primary question, and secondly, what keeps you awake at night?
yeah. So what drives us is, like I said, it's just that meaning of creating a consumer hardware company out of India. And now we are looking at even bigger things, like,
Mm-hmm.
make this successful and then help others like us who have similar dreams to be successful. And probably in our 60s, we'll be thinking of, okay, have we at least in some part contributed to some parts of India becoming like say Shenzhen in China, the hardware capital of the world.
Yes.
So have we in some ways contributed to that? And if the answer to that is a significant yes, then that's something that we would like to take to our grave. So that's what drives us. Now, to the second question, right? So I don't think anything should keep you awake at night. Like honestly,
Yeah.
sleep is very
With
important.
with
Although I'm saying
Cradlewise,
that.
with Cradlewise, it should not, right?
So you have to develop that tenacity that okay, I'm shutting off right now and I'm
Okay,
getting good sleep and worry about my problems in the morning. So
got
like
you.
literally nothing should keep you up at night.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, so we're almost halfway through this conversation. But for those who would probably be listening to this in the future or are already listening, let's get some practical advice from you on some of the stuff that we've been asked. So, one of them is, do you recommend that people jump straight in or start on the side while working elsewhere? There are divergent views on this, right? So one is you go all in, one is you say no, try doing some side hustle and then see if it kind of works, and then you take the plunge. So what's your experience and view on this? On this?
So, there are different takes on this, and I wouldn't say I'm an authority because I've tried only one method, so I'm not sure if the
Hmm.
other methods really work or don't work. My method has been all in, like just
Hmm.
go all in.
Okay.
But I was able to take that decision. In fact, like both of us, we kind of said that okay, we should have a 2 to 3 year personal runway at the minimum without
Okay.
screwing up lifestyle big time. Right? I think that's the thing that is key to taking that decision. If you have a meaningful 2 to 3 years where it's okay to go down to absolute zero, no problem,
Hmm.
but you should be able to
Hmm.
somewhat maintain your lifestyle and not like, I mean, by lifestyle, I don't mean like going and having a drink at the best pub, but like, basic lifestyle, you should be able to maintain uh, for like 2 to 3 years because
Hmm.
that's the amount of time it takes to meaningfully attempt something. Like try something, something fails, then you pivot and you. So have that 3 year personal runway, and I think you're
Got you.
good to go. And you should ideally go all in because if you have backup options, you will never, uh, somewhere deep inside, the fear of death or fear of downfall is one of the key drivers for getting something done. It's very subconscious. It's so subconscious that
Hmm.
you don't even really, like. I keep quoting this to a lot of employees many times when they're like, "Okay, Bharat, should we have a backup plan?" And I'm like, "Screw the backup plan. This is our plan. We got to get this done." And I literally show them that one snippet of Batman video where there is this wise guy who tells Batman that like he has to get out of that step well, and every time he's trying, he's failing. And one wise man there says, uh, "There's only one other person who has done it, and that person did it without the backup rope." And
Ah, okay.
so then he goes and does it, right? So I think that's very important. You just have to like just go and get it done.
So, just while we were having this conversation, our first school captain from Sainik School, Colonel B.G. Vikumar, said that you have, if I read it right, you have a childlike innocence, you are leaning towards spirituality, and he would like to share a glass of spirit with you and discuss spiritualism. So that's from Colonel
Yeah,
B.G. Vikumar, sir. So just thought I'll point that out as well. Thank you, sir, for that.
yeah.
So
Thank
moving
you. Sure,
on,
sir.
yeah. So again, a two-parted question. How important is it to have mentors or a support network? That's one question. And the follow-up to that is, you are an alumnus of Sainik School Bijapur, as we mentioned upfront. How has that alumni network supported you in your entrepreneurial journey?
The first one, right? Mentors. So I honestly think mentors are overrated. Once you
You
like
just
probably the
lost half the audience here. You can go on.
so uh, if you are reasonably smart, which you should be, better be before you try your hand at being an entrepreneur.
Uh-huh.
Then within just few months of getting into certain system,
Mm-hmm.
it is very hard for anybody to advise you correctly. They can give
Uh-huh.
you some gross directions, uh, but ultimately it's for you to figure out because most things will be gray. Uh,
Hmm.
but the kind of mentors who I like the best, which I have kind of adopted as my personal style of mentoring also, is the ones who say these are the like if you do this, these are the advantages, these are the disadvantages. Like they'll just try to put a mirror in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
They will never use the word, you know what, you should go do this. Like they will never say that to an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
That's the entrepreneur's business to figure what they're supposed to do. The mentor's job is to say, if you do this, these are the likely things that will happen. These are the likely things that will happen if you do this other thing. Now you go figure,
Hmm.
right?
Got you.
And the weights that you need to give to each of those fears and each of those probable successes, that's all like on you, not on anybody else.
Got you.
Uh,
Got you.
yeah.
Okay, so that's what you meant when you
So
said mentorship is overrated.
yeah. So, and there are very few mentors who actually do this really well. There are like we have one mentor Sunny Wu, who is a Vietnamese who made great
Mm-hmm.
fortune in the US doing a consumer hardware company. We were like very lucky to get connected. It was very serendipitous the way we got connected to him. He was the one who taught this style to me. Like
Huh.
he'll always do this like very rationally. He'll just say advantages, disadvantages. That's it. Now you go figure.
So,
Yeah.
again, I'd like to push back or press you on the second part of the question about the
Hmm.
alumnus of Sainik School Bijapur.
Alumni. Correct.
How
Yeah.
important has that network been in your journey or helpful? And
Right.
so also while there would be a wider audience obviously for this podcast, the reason I'm asking about Sainik School Bijapur specifically is because there are a lot of folks in the audience right now who are from that school, and some of them would be wondering, how do I get started? What do I do? How can I leverage the
Hmm.
network and things like that? They may not know where to start from. So something on those lines, if you could touch upon. And please continue with your answer. This light seems to be troubling me, but please go ahead. I'm right
Yeah.
here.
Okay. Yeah. So once again, it might be a very counter-intuitive answer, but I think networks are also overrated,
Mm-hmm.
at least in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to, so if you are just speaking about what you plan to do, right, the network can give you only so much. Networks start to become valuable when you actually go and start doing something. Like
Mm-hmm.
go get at least a couple of failure badges, and then the network will be useful. Uh, so the Sainik School network obviously has been very useful, and I wish that I had started to tap into it a little earlier. That's one of my regrets. We moved from China to Vietnam for production because of COVID, and then we finally moved to India. I believe the move to India could have happened sooner if I had spoken to more Sainik School people and more people in general. Uh, it's in that sense been a personal journey for me as well. I believe it or not, I'm an introvert. Like the people from the school who know me will be surprised that I'm even doing some kind of networking. I was like a hardcore introvert, but I have tried to reshape myself because I've realized that uh, I cannot have all the answers all the time
Got you.
through this journey and the previous journeys, but they have helped us. With raising money. They helped us with production. Uh, some people, particularly Magod Laser, Halswami Magod, and Master Components, Mr. Mudhu Kulkarni. a few others also have directly contributed in the setup of the manufacturing, for example. And there's one mentor who is like our most go-to mentor, Mr. Raj Galgali. Like anytime we have any problem in the company, we first call Raj sir, who has known us since 2011, and like he always he has this knack of grounding us to reality very quickly. Those are the types
Nice.
of the mentors you got to have, you know.
Got you. So
Yeah.
we have actually two audience questions, and I'll read them verbatim. Um, you can make sense of what it actually means and then respond.
Hmm.
So first one is from Harsha. He says, "Are there any other problems you are trying to solve? And then, as an entrepreneur, should we go on a quest to solve the problems we encounter and benefit ourselves, or the ones that we see in society and general humanity will benefit?" That's one question. And then there's a related question. I think I saw it from Sagar. Uh, I think his question was, do you ever think of diversifying your product?
Hmm.
So these are the two kind of related questions. So we have another 10,
Yeah,
15
yeah,
minutes
yeah.
left in this conversation. I wish we could extend it, but in the interest of time, we'll try to keep
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
to the window that we have. But yeah, these are two questions from the
Yeah.
audience.
Solving your problems versus others' problems. I don't think you can always hope for such serendipity as in our case. We just I think it's more about identifying with the problem, how closely you can identify with the problem. A classic example is any B2B startup, right? Like let's say you're solving for a factory. Let's say you're
Hmm.
trying to automate something in a factory. It's not going to be your problem, but if you just visit 10 factories, you'll start seeing a pattern.
Hmm.
uh, and you solve the core problem for, like, let's say one or two factories, and then keep expanding on that. That's a classic example of it not being your problem. And I think what is really important is you should still answer this question of why you. Like
Hmm.
when it's not a problem that you face, or when it is a problem that you face, you should also answer that other question of why you, right? Why are you best in position to tackle that problem better than anybody else in the world? I think that matters more than whether it is your personal problem or somebody else's problem. So
Got you.
that's part one. Uh, are we diversifying? Yes, this is, I think, the moment when we start diversifying. We will diversify more into kids' sleep and general smart products in kids. But again, I think that's a very fine balance. You earn the right to diversify when you have created at least one thing that people really love, and you have been able to build this business engine which works for itself and kind of can get into an automated mode, because the energy of creation for the second thing or the third thing, it cannot be any less than the first thing. So you have to still have that uh, ability to commit that much amount of time and love for the second thing as well. It's just like making kids, right? Like you make the first kid, and then the second kid, you cannot just throw on the road and let somebody else make it grow. You have to
Right.
treat them like your kids.
Of course.
Yeah.
Got you. While you were responding to that, I also saw a flash on the screen from one of our senior mentors, Ashok Dalwai sir, complimenting you, Bharat, uh, for what you bring to the table. So thank you, sir, for that. And
Okay. Thank you,
move,
sir.
uh, moving on. I've got actually two or three questions from my side. In the interest of time, I'll see which ones to pick and choose. But there is one fun round that I definitely want to cover at the end of it. So I'll spare 5 minutes for that. But the next important question for someone that's listening or watching this podcast is entrepreneurship for me? What three questions should they answer honestly before deciding?
Hmm. You can go back to that first thing that I said, like how self-aware are you? That's an extremely important question to answer
Mm-hmm.
because that changes your ability to either do things by yourself or get the right person to do it for you, right? Like that awareness
Okay.
is extremely important. So, and you can judge this in many ways. From like, how many times have you set goals to yourself and actually got it done? And what have you learned from the stuff that you've not got done, right? I'm not saying you should be, 100% successful. That's probably like the worst measure. Like you should have failed
Hmm.
enough to have become self-aware that uh, uh, I'll fail when I do this and I'll succeed when I do this. So I need to find people like like let's take my case. I was super lucky to have my wife itself as somebody who is an extrovert and
Hmm.
who tries lots of random stuff, whereas I'm very methodical, rational, and so that contrast I had to fill in. You have to have
Hmm.
that extreme self-awareness of what your weaknesses and strengths are.
Got
Right.
you.
Then the second thing, obviously, is I think that courage. You would you would just have to be able to come out of your failures again and
Hmm.
again and again. And if there is history of you doing that, then that is better than having again like lots of success. In fact, if you have just had success and you start being an entrepreneur, I'm sure you'll meet some failure in between, and that might be like the end because you've never seen that like falling really flat on your face. So you should have
Right.
some experience of that and build courage based on that.
Hmm.
Third thing I would say is constantly be on the learning mode. Uh,
Okay.
it's the thing that makes you entrepreneur on the first day. It's the thing that keeps you an entrepreneur on the 1,000th day or the whatever, the 3,000th day. You have to constantly
Curiosity,
be on
essentially.
learning mode. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Got you. There's one question from somebody that identifies themselves as engineer, ENGR. Um, but again, I request you to maybe try and answer this in 20 seconds if you can. Um, he wants to know what was the timeline from the time you had the idea till you had the prototype and anything in between. What was the timeline? So maybe in 15 seconds,
Right.
if you can just run us through that.
So I mean, I got a lot of time for this because I was building it for my kid, right? Like we were just doing
Hmm.
it for our kids, so we took a year, so it didn't matter because it was not even a business then. It became
Hmm.
a business much later. But a more realistic example is what happened when we decided to make a business and we wanted to do this script that we will sell in the US.
Hmm.
So we went to
Just from a
Shenzhen
just
for
from
a
a, sorry,
reason.
just from a
Yeah.
timeline perspective, was it like 6 months, 8 months, a year? I think
Right,
that's
right,
probably
right.
what we can
So
probably
it
respond
depends a
to.
lot
Hmm.
if you're in the right place.
Hmm.
We thankfully went to Shenzhen. From the drawings, from the final drawings, which we completed in July of 2019, we had a fully working demoable prototype in which a kid could actually sleep by November. So that was like about 4 months.
4 months. Awesome.
Yeah,
So now I'm going
yeah.
to stop my train of questions, the long questions and answers, and I'm going to get into the rapid fire segment. We have got about 2 minutes for this before we wrap up.
Hmm.
So this is probably the most fun part of conversations that I normally have. Tea or coffee? What fuels you?
I don't need both, but yeah, I take tea because coffee keeps me too awake. So
Okay, all right. Phone call or WhatsApp? What do you prefer?
phone call. Urgency matters.
Okay, books or podcasts?
Books.
Okay,
Okay.
mountains or beaches? Okay, if you had to give up one of these two, which would you give up? Email versus meetings.
meetings.
Okay, got you. Okay, one kind of closing part to the rapid fire. It's not really rapid fire, but this was a question that one of our senior Ajeet's Sudarshan Satija sir asked me to ask you, and he said, "What's the significance, or why do you have the word Ajeet in your email ID?"
Okay, I think for the Sainik school people, it's obvious.
Yeah.
So the backstory is that the first so we were of that time when emails were first being made.
Uh-huh.
Because I graduated from Sainik school in 2002. So
Thank you.
so
So
2000
first of all,
2002.
no. First of all, I thank you for saying that it was the time that emails were coming in, because it kind of equates you and me at the same time. I thought I was a dinosaur, but because I'm sure I had my email ID before you. But yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so the first email ID I created was actually Sainik Bharat because like Sainik
Uh-huh.
school, Sainik Bharat. And then some people started misrepresenting that.
Okay,
So
got
lots
you.
of pun around the Sainik Bharat
Okay,
email. So
okay,
then I moved it to Ajeet Bharat because I was like, okay, that feels a little bit more
got you.
cooler as well as represents. So we in fact had
Okay.
somewhat of a pact, which I think some people followed in our batch. Like it's
Hmm.
easy to find people, right? When you leave from school, it's like Ajit and
Hmm.
whatever name. So you'll obviously get the email ID. So if
Got
I
you.
remember somebody, I just have to say Ajit, that guy, and then shoot an email, and it'll work. So,
Got you.
but I don't think people followed that too much.
Got you. No, but thank you, and I hope that answers that question. Just kind of some closing reflections here. We've got a couple of minutes more. So, if you go back to the very beginning of your journey, is there one thing that you might want to change or do differently?
Not in the beginning, but there was a time in between when we raised VC money and we went a little too fast.
Uh-huh.
Against our very principles that we had kind of set for ourselves. There was this one golden rule we had made,
Mm.
which we broke and suffered a lot because of that. The thing was this: whenever you make a significant change in hardware, you can scale only 5x. That's a rule, and someday I think I'll write a book about that rule.
Hmm.
But we broke that once, and we really suffered, like thoroughly suffered. We
Okay.
just thought that we had raised so much money so we can afford to fail more, but it was not what we were ready for.
Got you. Cool.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
for those who may want to reach out to you for guidance, advice, or anything else, maybe a conversation, how should they, what's the best way for them to reach you?
WhatsApp or email will do.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but since there is a probably, hopefully, a global audience for this, we may not be able to
yeah.
obviously share your WhatsApp number, but is there,
Email for
I
sure.
know
Yeah, but I
you're
don't
fairly
mind.
shy. You're not on Instagram,
Yeah,
I know. Uh,
yeah.
would LinkedIn be another option?
LinkedIn obviously is an option, but I don't even, yeah, I mean, at least, yeah, if not publicly made available, at least privately, people can get my phone number and WhatsApp me. There's no problem with that. Uh,
Okay.
because
So if,
I've learned that, over time, when people reach out, they are quite reasonable. It's like, those who deserve the attention reach out. So there's no
got
problem.
you.
Yeah.
Got you. So we are exactly at the end of time, but thank you so much, Bharat, for sharing your journey and insights.
Yeah.
And to our listeners and viewers, I hope today's episode kind of ignites that spark of what entrepreneurship actually means. Is it for you? And maybe you choose that as a career path or not, depending on what you take out of this conversation. And thank you again, Bharat, for bringing this mindset into the open, so to say. And this has been the AIF podcast. And until next time, stay curious. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.